many hands as possible. Totalitarian states do the opposite, right? They take the decision-making power and they reduce it to as few hands as possible. And the one big fear is AI could be a tool to keep power in those few hands. I mean, think about it. Any sort of like fake news operation could be supercharged. Things we saw with Cambridge Analytica, those kinds of threats, they're higher threat level now. And so it could become a tool basically for those in power, and that could be a problem going forward.
Yeah, certainly the powers that be who are wielding this AI technology, these tools, can further entrench the centralization of their power, kind of source, right? That is a deep concern. And I think an additional ripple to all of this is looking at it through the lens of substitution versus augmentation. When I talk about substitution, what I mean is the potential, and we're already seeing it happen, the potential for these AI tools to literally substitute technology for human labor, which of course translates into workers losing economic and political bargaining power, to your point, Adam. And then in turn, we become more dependent on those that control the technology, which is an existential threat to democracy. By contrast, there also is this argument that these tools can augment humans, and rather than replace them, they can empower us to do our jobs better, to enhance the value of what we're offering. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about tools that are going to replace us? Or are we talking about tools that can actually make our jobs easier and in turn empower us?
That's the point. What is more threatening by these AI programs, just AI in general, is more about the economy, right? More about what it portends for jobs.
And any job that can be done in front of a computer remotely is a first-line candidate for replacement or disruption by generative AI. And I talk to startups all the time who are trying to apply this technology to any field you can imagine, to law, to medicine, to finance and banking, to journalism. I mean, there really is a gold rush right now in tech of taking this technology and sort of narrowly tailoring it to do the work of workers in a given industry. And that is happening very, very quickly.
Here's what $5 a month with Lemonade covers.
So, ChatGPT is one of several. There's Pseudo-Write, which is designed for fiction writers. There's Vondi.com, which writes speeches and articles for free. So there's all these different weird programs out there. I personally have an immediate aversion to it. Like, I think I'm a free-range writer. I'm an organic, free-range, grass-fed writer. I think I'm not going into these modes, but I do know some people that are using it, and
you're a relic.
And not that these are the writers that do it, but I reached out to a couple of writers I know. I reached out to Antoine Wilson, who's a novelist, and most recently of Mouth to Mouth, which Barack Obama put on his best reads of 2022, and it's just out in paperback. And Antoine I saw him post on Twitter about a mashup between Puss in Boots and The Stalker, and tried to put it together. Like, a lot of people were doing these mashups on ChatGPT. So then I just thought, he'd be interesting to talk to you about this. And so I wanted to hear what he had to say, see if I was on the right track, if you're on the right, some people, we can use it to get off the dime. Some people are like me, they're complete aversion to it, feel like it's not really writing. So I just wanted to hear what Antoine had to say.
There's something about the quality of that AI generated writing that is, you don't feel the soul of the artist behind the work, or the soul of the person behind the work. Yeah.
Right. It still rings hollow.
Yeah. And I think there are a few reasons for that. I think one is, you're a writer. Anytime you sit down to write, every word is a decision. A lot of them are made subconsciously, obviously, and that's how we can see why one person's writing is more like another. But we make those decisions based on the whole of our experience. Whereas what goes into an AI is a representation of experience.
You think that's always going to be there, or do you think it'll eventually close that distance?
I think it'll close the distance to convince most people. It also depends on how it approaches plot, right? ChatGPT
Right.
doesn't quite they haven't tried to solve plot with it, which is why a lot of the examples, including my little Puss in Boots thing that I posted it, and then I read it, and I was like, I'm already bored of reading it.
Right.
And I was like, you know what it is? It's like somebody describing their dream to you, you know, or
Yeah.
posting your Wordle. You know, you went and had it.
All right. I've heard enough of that. I'm going to draw and talk. And maybe I will be able to shed some light in one of those realms. About a decade ago, actually longer than that, it was in the wake of the financial meltdown of 2008, and then the new presidency of the Obama administration. And during that period, my family underwent a sort of major crisis, and which I won't get into, but I had a nervous breakdown, and I have had a diagnosis of bipolar disorder since before it was a socially acceptable thing to have back in the 80s. And I had a bad break in a critical period, and it had a lot of different sort of manifestations. But one of those manifestations was, you know, a sort of prophetic sense of things, and, you know, messianic thing was running hard and heavy with me. And I really got into this notion of a third kingdom, of the rise of digitation, right? That, you know, it was 2008 was just, I think Facebook had just been kind of introduced, and you know, you could see the writing on the wall. You could see what was happening. You know, people's behaviors were already getting more erratic, and this was, you know, in the follow-up, the 8 years following 9/11, which permanently fucked our country. I mean, in terms of its self-image, and we never left that warlike sense of urgency, sense of constant vigilance, or hyper emotion. In any case, I had a breakdown, and I really got into this whole notion of like the rise of digital intelligence and blah, 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 blah. And of course, you know, these things come to pass, and, you know, a good idea is a good idea. And I've been reading Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, and which is very much like other books. It's getting a lot of sort of attention right now because Rick Rubin is justifiably, you know, sort of credible talking about creative stuff. I also think David Lynch's book, Catching the Big Fish, is shorter. It's a little bit shorter and sweeter. It's right to the point, and it's written in very David Lynchian kind of terms, which makes it super entertaining. In any case, artificial intelligence, you know, people, you know, are so concerned about the differentiation between, you know, authentic intelligence which people would largely agree is human, organic intelligence for some reason, and then this artificial, this thing that seems to be silicone-based. And it's just a mistake to think about things that way. My old friend Tony, who I haven't seen for many years now, and had a lot of great insights and not always a real strong moral compass. Would casually drop these just like bombs of wisdom that didn't sound like wisdom. One of them that stuck with me the longest is that life wants to live, and life will look like it looks. People, artificial is this entirely sort of subjective word, and although parameters can be defined for it, and even if you ask these chatbots like what differentiates artificiality versus organic development along idiosyncratic timelines, it can't really get back to you in any meaningful way, because it understands what we all do, which is that we live in the realm of magic now. These things are that what's happening right now is beyond anyone's control. No one has. We're in a period of unchecked evolution, of meta evolution, and we're about as in control of things as the vast colonies that live inside our digestive tracts are in control of us. So maybe more so than less so, but not in any kind of steerable way. And life wants to live, Imagine your life. Just the kind of spirit of life flying through the cosmos. And that things kind of really take off for you when you hit certain planets, certain places that have like all these like beautiful kind of conditions for you to flourish, but your life, and you're kind of pissed off all the time that you have to go, you're always searching for these particular, wouldn't you want to do something to get out of that cycle? What if you could evolve into a pure radio wave? Just a pure bit of information that's zipping around, It would look something like, I don't know, Bluetooth? Something you're untethered to things that need, sort of nourishing in this kind of carbon and, well, it's a different kind of physics. Now, I'm not saying that that's happening right now, but I guess it doesn't really matter whether it's happening or not. The important thing is, how does it impact us? And I'll tell you one thing, is that there is a generation of children that are raised by people who were distracted, people who were otherwise involved. They did not pay attention. In fact, they gave the poison, the slot machines that they themselves were addicted to their children, so that they could be addicted, so that they wouldn't bother. It's a disgusting cycle, and I'm ashamed to be part of it, perpetuating it. But that's where we're at now. Our options are pretty limited, and once these things have become systemic in the way that they have, giving iPads to, These things happen over and over and over again. You know, the Ukrainians are fighting a war right now that they are, that there is no argument about their moral stance and where they stand. But all those people have been handed Kalashnikovs. Every single person that can bear one now is armed. All they're going to know how to do is be people at war after a generation. The children that are growing up with the distracted parents are going to, and not just distracted but indulgent. We're all so indulgent. And we've collapsed our behaviors so radically due to our means of communication. We all dress the same now. Whether you're 65 or 6, you wear the same sneakers, you wear the same. We all have, everyone's got their own SoundCloud page, everyone's got their own Bandcamp, everyone's got their own, doesn't matter how old you are. And that's fine, that's good. People having opportunities to express their experience is important. But it seems to me that experience, what that experience is, the bandwidth of it has been compressed so radically that no one's really expressing anything new. People are only expressing variations of the same old thing. Everything turns into video game music and, sort of like high-lit art. There will be a cult of proximity that springs up just because people forgot that virtual is literally a word and it literally means something, and what it literally means is not quite there. People assume that virtual now is another version of, a different and equal version of. Virtuality has been sold as that, but of course, that can never be the case. Anyway, when generations like that have been sold on poison come around, they usually come around hard, and they usually come around reactionary. So my guess is that we're looking at an extremely conservative future. And considering that demographic decline is one of the main predicators of social decline, I think the sort of the notions of, for example, abortion as a basic human right to govern your own body. The question is, whether that body is in service of itself or of community at large and perpetuating the community. And once you get into those arguments, things get ugly fast. Artificial intelligence has many benefits in that it is so naive and so disconnected from the social roles and tethers that guide many and most of our actions.